Hello, friends, and welcome to the Optimized Advisor Podcast, where we focus on optimizing the well-being and best practices of insurance and financial professionals today. On this show, our objective is to help you optimize your life, optimize your profession, and learn from other optimized advisors. I'm your host, Scott Heinela. We hope you enjoy the show. Blayne Andersen, CFP with Bander Wealth or Bander Investments.
A few years back, we converted and start referring to ourselves as Bander Wealth Management.
Very good. I like that. Okay, welcome to the Optimized Advisor Podcast. Thank you for coming in today. We sincerely appreciate you taking the time. I know you're an incredibly busy person, spinning a few different hats, being an entrepreneur, a financial planner, a father, a husband, all those things. So we'll unpack a little bit of that as we go on. But first, why don't you tell us a little bit about, your story, your practice, and then we can delve into other topics.
Yeah, well, it's great to be here. I love the podcast. Happy to be here. It's a pleasure. Mm-hmm. We work primarily, home base is out of Idaho Falls. We're an independent wealth management firm. As you mentioned, I'm a CFP. I hold the accredited investment fiduciary title or accreditation as well. Over the years, we've had a few small acquisitions and been able to get into some larger markets because of some of the particular transactions we do or through those acquisitions. So we work out of Denver, work out of the Salt Lake area, have really started working a lot more out of the Phoenix, Arizona area, and then also Boise, Idaho. But
Okay, so that's 4 marketplaces that you're currently in. Phoenix, primarily, or I would say originated in Idaho Falls, the Boise marketplace, Denver. Did you say Denver?
Yep.
Okay, Denver, Phoenix, and essentially Salt Lake City.
Yes.
And the surrounding metropolitan area.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's really, and this was before COVID, but just doing so much online and already through Zoom. Right now, I did an analysis not too long ago, and we manage and supervise more assets outside of our hometown and area than we do inside.
So tell me more about how that evolution occurred. How did those opportunities actually take hold and become a reality?
The first was through an acquisition in Denver, Colorado, and that was back in 2013, 2014.
Okay.
And so I was traveling out there. I'd spend a week there in Denver and then come back to Idaho Falls, and I was just burning at both ends, working crazy hours, traveling a lot, and I was up for it at the time, but really just as time passed, we started doing more and more online, encouraging clients to do Zoom and just make that option available to them. Mm-hmm. And this was prior to COVID, but then especially once COVID started, that option has really blossomed, and we do as many of our appointments online and Zoom by client preference than we do in the office. And sure, we still have clients that come in and we do face-to-face, but we just make it available for them to choose how they want to interact and how they want to do their strategic financial planning sessions or their update appointments with us.
How would you currently profile the makeup of your client base? Younger, older? What kind of professions do you find that they have? What kind of net worth? Is there any concentration?
Yeah, there is. Certainly the retiree.
I mean, cool people.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's who you are, so they have to be cool.
And thank you. But the thing is, I'll tell you, I love our client base. Like the people that we work with, I mean, they're friends, they're down-to-earth people. We have farmers. We've got a fair amount of entrepreneurs. People that I think are looking for some investments or strategies outside of the regular run-of-the-mill cookie-cutter approaches. Mm-hmm. And so naturally we attract those types of people. But average demographic, usually I'd say 65 years old. And our Denver client base is a little bit older, and we've done some analysis. So, but 65 years old. For us, if you were to look me up on the CFP website, you'd see a minimum of 500,000. Of course, everybody knows there's some wiggle room there, but average client is going to be around 500,000 to $1 million of assets, investable assets.
Right.
And they're all, but approaching retirement. We've got a good base, though, of people that are in the withdrawal stage of life. And really, that's something we push a lot, is to help many investors. Everybody's familiar with the fear of overspending and running out of money, we talk to clients just as much about underspending and not spending enough, not saying yes enough to the making memories and the opportunities in life, spending time with family and living out your retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So all I'm getting at is we've got a good, I would say close to 50% that are in the withdrawal phase of retirement and life.
So when we were talking earlier, you were mentioning the one element of your firm's growth was through other business acquisitions. I see no sign of that slowing over the next 5 to 10 years, with advisors exiting the business, retiring, not wanting to deal with regulation, oversight, a whole host of reasons. Aside from that, you were also mentioning to me with some solicitation or affiliations agreements that you've been able to establish.
Yeah, certainly trying to work alongside, whether it's insurance-only professionals and providing maybe the active money management side to that is...
Or a CPA?
A CPA, certainly. I mean, we've even recently, like a big part of our growth in the Gilbert, Arizona, Chandler, Arizona, the Phoenix area has been in cooperation or companionship with a CPA and with a firm.
Talk to me a little bit more about, just generically, how that relationship, because all too often, we hear this all the time at conferences. I've tried and tried and tried to affiliate, align myself, or rub shoulders with a CPA or an estate planning attorney, and they all too often, they seem to want to be very willing to receive, but not overly willing to reciprocate. So I'm curious if you could just expand upon how that relationship evolved to where it really was a meaningful relationship and almost a quasi-partnership.
Yeah, well, definitely the introductions and the interactions start with mutual clients. And so, for example, we ask all clients about their current relationships. And I make it very well known to clients that we want to have an open line of communication with their other outside professionals, and their CPAs being one. We have a letter that we send to the CPA once we identify them and a mutual client. We let them know the services we provide, but we also ask them about the services they provide. And of course, that's something they're a little more interested in, is sharing about their practice, who the clients they serve. We keep a list of accountants that we refer, and then we look for opportunities to give their names out. And then not only that, every time we give their name out, whether it results in a contact or a referral or a client or not, we let them know that we gave their name out.
Interesting. So the Arizona CPA was introduced to you through a client?
Yes.
Right.
A mutual client.
Wonderful.
So we definitely take a proactive approach in first serving that client, but then making sure that CPA knows about us. We copy the client on the email that we send them, that we say we want to have an open line of communication. Every quarter, well, mainly in the first quarter, let me take that back, but we provide a tax summary document, a sheet. It's a tax summary document. So we're not necessarily going in and tracking down all the tax documents, although we do that for a fair amount of clients. But we send them a summary sheet that outlines what are the tax documents that they should be looking for on behalf of that client. And then, of course, copy the client on it, make sure the client is aware of this open line of communication that we're seeking to establish with their CPAs and other professionals.
You see, a best practice takeaway right there is we take a team approach to any new client that we bring in. We're encouraging them to loop in their CPA, loop in their estate planning attorney. We want to be involved with them. We want to interact with them, because at the end of the day, we all have to be in communication with each other. We should. And that creates significantly more a sticky relationship with the client, I would think, right?
I agree.
And in many cases, advisors and CPAs or estate planning, one of those are many times adverse to open lines of communication.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you an example. Just this past Friday, I went down to Arizona. I met with an accountant. He brought in 2 clients. We had 2 separate client meetings. One of them was with a client of his that he's had for close to 20 years, sold his business this past year, and currently works with JP Morgan, even mentioned Vanguard. So he's got accounts at both places. And he expressed some hesitancy and maybe some of the things that we hear about financial advisors and those in the industry. But I shared with him a couple of things that, number one, our clients, they know when their next appointment is going to be. And then I was brought to talk some about opportunity zones. And this is a tax deferral strategy, especially for clients that have realized a capital gain this past year. But that was why his accountant brought me in to talk to him. And one of the ways that we present ourselves is as tax smart wealth advisors. And we want to, not that we have all the answers or the solutions, but we want to incorporate tax planning, whether it's tax deferred growth or tax advantaged withdrawals. We want to incorporate some aspect of tax planning with their investment management, with their financial planning. And it's the kind of clients that we hope to attract, those that are sensitive to taxes. So part of our marketing is as tax smart wealth advisors, and that means a big part of that, though, means working with their tax professionals.
Correct. You got to be able to walk the walk if you're going to talk the talk, right?
Yeah. So it's not all on me,
Right.
but that is a part of it. It takes some time. I do try to educate myself and help in those arenas, but also just complement the work that's taking place with their tax professionals. And then, like I mentioned too, though, those that refer, we refer back, and we look for opportunities to do that.
That's great. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that specific expertise, as you touched on also in previous conversations you and I had, that you really kind of doubled down, if you will, or invested a lot of time and effort in becoming more of a 1031 exchange expert. And then also you touched on, which I forget what you called them, but your structured notes.
Yes.
And not to dive granular.
Sure.
I think the important part is the fact that you've really invested in acute expertise. We're going to differentiate ourselves in a few different ways, the tax smart strategy and a few other areas within the investment world. So
Sure.
Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, going back, it's been well over 10 years, but we started doing some educational luncheons that were targeted towards CPAs. We would provide CE credit for their attendance.
Oh, wow.
And we registered and did that in the States. We did it in Idaho and also in Colorado. And
So at that time, was that the predominant form of your marketing to generate new introductions to new clients or prospects?
yeah,
Okay.
well, to
As oppo-
CPAs,
it was almost like business to business as opposed to business to consumer directly, because you knew that going to a CPA was a conduit to ultimately getting to clients.
yeah, and over the years, this has served as a viable strategy. I work with a number of clients or get introduced to clients that have financial advisors.
That's great. Yeah.
And a lot of times, yes, the 1031 exchange is a specific transaction for investors that have sold or are selling real estate. And the idea is to defer their capital gains. And so I would target CPAs with an educational luncheon, offer CE credit, invite them to come into the office. We've done some over the web, but in particular, over the years, it's helped us especially to receive referrals for specific transactions, and they involve accredited investors.
That's great. That's a great niche for you to be
Yeah.
involved in, and a roundabout way to get your foot in the door with a client who has the need, maybe already has a lifelong advisor, but they've not mentioned this specific solution or claim to be an expert. In many cases, they maybe can't
Yeah.
deal with 1031 exchanges.
And that has happened. And so even if it is something that you can do, I would encourage looking into it and making sure that it's something that you know where to go
Right.
to
What
find that
would you
solution.
suggest for those listening saying, that's very interesting. I'd like to become more of an expert in 1031 exchange. Do you have any insight on steps they would take to learn more?
Over the years, really, I'll say some of the investment companies
Okay.
have been
So
helpful.
find 1031 exchange investment companies, engage with them. They've got tremendous resources. Really, really lean into that.
Yeah, and I'll give a shout out to someone that helped me a lot, and that's Inland. If people are familiar with them, they're out of Chicago, but they are a sponsor. But they were a company that I would often partner with to host these luncheons.
Can we do another plug? APEG, I know you're affiliated
Yes.
with them. Have they done anything on
Yeah.
the topic of 1031 exchanges?
Well, they have, certainly on tax-deferred strategies, which involve 1031 exchanges for
Okay.
people that are selling real estate.
Okay.
APEG has been great for integrating tax and investment strategies. I have loved it. It's been phenomenal. And the thing,
Because you've been an instructor for APEG,
yeah,
correct?
yeah,
Okay, wonderful.
and I've shared on topics
So
around
for those
1031.
listening, APEG, Advanced Planning Educational Group, apegcommunity.com would be a place you can go find a little bit more. We do have a strategic relationship with them. They're heavily involved in our firm, as well as the advisors that we do have the pleasure of working with. So they're just a quick little sidebar on APEG, and you've been very instrumental as an instructor and as an advisor with APEG.
Yes, I have. And one of the things that I've enjoyed most is that over the years when I attend conferences, it's often from my colleagues that we learn the most from. And so APEG provides a platform to learn from other advisors that are working with clients on a day-to-day basis. They're experiencing many of the same challenges and questions that come up as I am. And so it gives us a platform to talk about those things.
In those environments, would you classify yourself as pretty open and inquisitive, or are you a little bit more just receptive and receiving information? How would you classify your characteristics in those environments?
Well, I'm in my 15th year, so I don't feel like I have, I got a lot more time ahead of me, but I also have a little bit of a foundation. But I would say early on, definitely, I'm all ears, and I love listening and learning. I'm here now in Dallas. I was at a due diligence meeting, and I'm certainly one that asks a lot of questions.
Yeah, I only ask that because sometimes it's hard for us to check our ego at the door, right? And to acknowledge that I don't have all the answers, and I really want to dive deeper into this, but I'm a little, that might express the fact that maybe I don't have all the knowledge that I should, and I'm going to maybe express myself that I'm a little vulnerable, and let's get away with that.
Let's do it. You're right. And especially in these type environments, that's the way to learn the best. I would rather do it here, and yes, even though it is amongst my colleagues and professionals, than in front of clients.
Amen to that. Yeah, so. Absolutely. Okay, moving on to that. What we want to talk a little bit more about was kind of double clicking on your practice in particular as it relates to operations and technology. I mean, you mentioned you're in 5 different marketplaces.
Yep.
That creates its own unique challenges operationally. Then also technology is so integral to how we operate in any financial or insurance services industry today. The challenge of connecting them, having them communicate, is an overwhelming burden. Many of them are just siloed. So let's just talk a little bit about your practice, how you are really structured from an operational standpoint, and then we can maybe spend a few minutes on technology.
Yeah, that'd be great. I love when I come across other advisors or practices. I call them model practices, but that is one of the first things I ask is, what's it look like under the hood? So
do tell, please.
I mean, I have, there's myself and one other gentleman, Doug Omont. He's a certified financial planner. Him and I have worked together for close to 10 years now. He's worked with me and Bander, and he came to us from Fidelity. He's a great professional, very knowledgeable, wonderful teacher and coach. We have a paraplanner who we've hired recently. This is something just within the past year.
Okay.
But that's nice, and it does help. We send out communications often through our paraplanner, representing our advisory team, as we refer to ourselves. And so we have a paraplanner, and then we have an operations specialist, and we have a client services specialist.
That's great. Okay.
And that's our core team.
Are they in one location, central location, whether or not they work every day or remote, but they are in a core location, central location?
Doug actually works out of Denver.
He does. Okay.
Yep.
And I mean, just more and more, that's the reality. I mean, our approach is, let me just seek out the most talented people that are a good fit culturally for us as an organization. I care less about, in certain roles, where you're actually housed.
I totally agree. And especially in an industry like ours where it is so much results oriented.
Right.
That's what we need.
Yeah, I mean, it really becomes, here's the X's and O's. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, we can clearly identify that. If things are off the rails, we can see that clear as day. We have to have a conversation, that kind of a thing.
Exactly.
So that's good.
That's been a big part of our growth and really just infrastructure is the people, of course.
And what about whatever you're willing to share on technology, your CRM, your financial planning software? What does the tech stack look like?
Yeah. Well, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, we made a transition from Redtail as a CRM to WealthBox.
Yep.
And that's a larger investment, but one I would recommend.
Okay.
It has helped us step up our game. I like WealthBox.
And
That's
have
our
you
CRM.
pre-built workflows in
Oh, yeah.
WealthBox? Yeah, okay. So I know it has templates for that, but you've probably gone in and
We have.
tailored them.
We have. I love it. The advances and the capabilities with WealthBox have helped us step up our game. And so we do. We have workflows on everything from a client appointment process that's coming up. We refer to them as personal strategic financial planning sessions. We've kind of gotten away from that term review. That's something we try to avoid. We call them an update or a strategic financial planning session. Certainly a new client was something you talked about, how we onboard them. We assign each other tasks. We give priority. We give timelines. And it just really helps us with our overall communication. So I like WealthBox. That's what we use. Our aggregation software for clients to go in and access their accounts is Right Capital.
Okay.
And that is a financial planning software. We don't use it as much. We actually use Holistiplan more.
Got it.
For financial
Yep,
planning. And then we use Calendly.
What percentage of your clients do you think you run them through Holistiplan? Is it the overwhelming majority? I mean, that is part of the journey.
It is, especially when we're trying to dive into their tax planning. We request their tax statements and their tax returns from clients. And that's something that we do, and something that we grabbed from APEG, Advanced Planning Educational Group, is the 5 pillars of financial planning. I want clients to feel like they're receiving holistic financial planning from us. So getting a copy of their tax return is a big deal.
So the 5 pillars: estate planning, tax planning,
Insurance
planning, investment planning,
and
retirement income planning.
Yeah,
Okay.
retirement income.
What is your strategy for client updates? You see, I am listening.
Yeah.
Do you purge them? Do you block them in big blocks? We're seeing more and more of that behavior within practices, or is it something where it's just more immersed throughout the year?
No, we've started to be much more intentional and deliberate with that. So what we do is the first quarter of the year is intended for client updates for C clients. And the reason for that is it allows us to work through some of the processes, some of the kinks, but C clients are the first quarter.
Smart. Yeah.
The second,
A little rough around the edges. We got to polish a few things here. Let's start there.
That's right. And actually,
that's a great idea.
We even do January as our housekeeping month. February is all Zoom appointments, and then March is going to be the in-office appointments. And that's what we do with C clients.
Interesting.
And then we go in our A and what we call our C plus clients, we do the second and fourth quarter of the year.
Got it. Okay.
2 meetings.
So they become conditioned. They know, right?
Yep.
When Bander's calling.
That's right. And one thing that I hope for our clients, and one of the survey questions that we'll ask periodically throughout the year is, do you know when your next appointment is with Bander? And I don't expect clients to tell me August 16th at 3 o'clock, but I do expect them to be able to say third quarter.
Right.
We meet in third quarter.
Yeah.
And we don't get into the classifications and things like that, but A and C plus clients are second and fourth quarter, and then B clients are the third quarter of the year. And what we do to start that quarter is we send them out an email with a Calendly link that gives them 4 options for scheduling, either an in-office appointment, a Zoom appointment, a phone appointment, or a pre-recorded video where I sit at my screen at the computer and just as if they were sitting in the office and record a video that's usually around 20 minutes that gives them an update and that walks through even some financial planning topics or things that we want to address for the year.
Yeah, see, that's a great idea. So the client has the option to suggest, to elect that or request that. Great, no problem. I, Blayne Andersen, will record a Zoom video of me essentially conducting my review as though I'm talking to you, the client, and we just download that, dispatch to you via email at your leisure when you're laying in bed or whenever is convenient for you. You can sit down and listen to the review.
Yeah, and especially for some of our busier clients that are entrepreneurs or children at home, they select that option.
That's a great idea. That's fantastic.
And then they'll respond back. We even say
How often do they
how often do they select it?
respond?
Not too often.
Okay.
We do make a very good effort to confirm receipt and make sure that they've seen it.
Got it. And you log that.
Yes. Yes.
Notated in the CRM.
Well,
and all
yeah,
that.
and
Yeah, of course.
Totally. And I want to know that it's effective, that it's working, because
Absolutely.
we go through the normal process to prepare for that appointment. We
Yeah.
do the beneficiary updates. We go through, we do our portfolio updates.
Yeah.
We address the financial planning topics. So I want to make sure that and the way I talk to the team about it is we don't want to do that work in vain.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that it's hitting. And so, but we give those 4 options.
Love that idea.
And
I
then,
mean, I think about my personal life right now, just how busy it is, and like how often are my wife Melissa and I like together in a room at the same time. And no disrespect, but I also then when we are, I want to be very thoughtful and intentional. We want to be sitting, running around, meeting with, not to diminish it. That's not my point. It's just a much more efficient use of time to offer that. And for many clients, it's just the chapter of their life.
Yeah.
I could look at it independently and watch it, and then I could send it to Melissa, and she could listen to it independently, and then we can compare notes.
totally.
Great way to go.
Totally. And
Love that.
my hope is that, and what we talk about often internally is we own the communication. It's on us. And I know how I am with the professionals I work with, whether it's my attorney or whether it's my insurance professional. I want to hear from them. Give me some updates. Let me know that you're working. Let me know that you're doing something. But I'm not going to be reaching out to you a lot unless I need something.
Yeah.
But that's our goal in being proactive with the communication, is to provide that option.
Okay, last but not least, with the last few minutes we do have here, you're a husband, you're a father of 3 kids,
Yep.
you like to wake surf, you like to hunt, you like to be outdoors, you like to live life, you're also running a thriving practice in multiple states. How do you manage your time? How do you manage your calendar? How do you prioritize? How do you get life done?
I'm still working at it. I'll tell you that much. But I will tell you, there are some things that I do to be very intentional.
Please share your best practices.
Number 1, I use copy talk, dictations. I don't ever finish a conversation with somebody without recording what we talked about. So it could be conversations certainly with clients, but I also use it in my personal life. It's how I keep track of things.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about how you go about that.
So
Give me an example.
I just finished on the way over here. I was driving,
Yep.
and there was a client, a prospect that called into the office today, wanted me to reach back out to him. And I was going to call him just after we finished, but he called into the office again. So I took the call while I was coming over here in the Uber. We had a 30-minute conversation. I saw it on my phone, the amount of time, and I walked him through. We offer a complimentary 25-minute personal strategic financial planning session. So this is somebody that was calling in about that.
Okay.
He had a few questions. He said they had a couple $1,000s each month in surplus. They're 60. They're looking to retire at 65. They have 401ks. Long story short, I went through a couple recommendations, talked about Roth IRAs, talked about an in-service non-hardship withdrawal, maybe something they want to do if they want to do more with their investments. And then afterwards, before I moved on to the next thing, I have a copy talk as the provider, and it allows me to do a 4-minute dictation that then gets emailed to me within the next 24 hours. I have it emailed to me and also to a staff member, and then goes into the profile and wealth box for that prospect and documents our conversation, what we discussed, what questions they had, what I told them. They asked about our costs, how we charge, things like that. I documented it all.
And what's great about that is it's your words as the summary converted to text as compared to an actual digital recording or dictation of the conversation, which can get a little dicey.
Yes.
There's a big difference there. So,
That's right.
Yeah, that's
right.
great.
That's
That's
all in
good.
text.
Okay,
So
got
I've been
it.
using that for many years, and
Nice.
I use it both in professionally and personally.
Wonderful. Okay, what else you got?
And then, you know what? I just use a simple tab on my phone, a reminders tab. But I keep track of tasks that are a priority for today, that are a priority for this week, and then that are specific to the different ventures and things that I'm involved in life.
What about personal priorities that you stick to?
Oh, well,
And how do you do that? You know, with your kids, with your boy, with your your children, and your interests.
Well, right now, and this is one thing I love about our industry, I started from scratch. I was an independent advisor from day one. And so, especially early on, I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. It took till year 3 to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And anytime I talk to people about coming into this industry or that talk to me about it, I tell them, if you can't give it 2 years of everything you got, then it's not
for you. Yeah,
not
you're
for
in
you.
survival mode.
You're in survival
That's
mode.
right.
So after getting through those first 2 years, I started seeing a little bit more of the light, especially working on my own. I was commission only, no client base, really not even a lot of training or background, but just ready to work. But those years and those early years, especially when my kids were younger, have given me a lot more time and flexibility now.
Right.
So my 3 children are 17, 15, and soon to be 13. And that's first and foremost to me. So I don't miss family stuff now. That is the priority.
That's great.
And I feel like I'm in my mid-40s. There'll be plenty of time to work.
Right.
But it took the time early on.
You're in this chapter.
Yeah, that's the chapter I'm in. So it's family first. I do live in Idaho, and I'm there primarily. I love the outdoors. I love wake surfing. I just finished
tailgating.
a hunt.
You love tailgating.
I love tailgating. I get down to football games. College football is my thing.
If you're interested, for those listening, where would they go to find out your love of tailgating?
Yeah,
Share that with us.
Just at Tailgating Crew. We started an Instagram page, even a YouTube channel, and we like visiting college football environments and sharing our adventures.
Okay, it's legit, by the way.
Yeah.
So check it out.
Yeah, check out Tailgating Crew.
I look forward to coming up to Idaho Falls and spending some time with you. I really do.
I hope you do.
I love being outdoors. I love being in the water and on the water. So I'm incredibly excited about spending some more time.
Yeah, I really do. I want you to come up and see what it's like up there in Idaho. I'm not from there originally, so I feel like, man,
that's okay. Not many people are. Let's just be honest, right?
That's
And
right.
that's a good thing.
And they don't
I mean,
think
it's
about
a
it.
beautiful thing.
Yes, that's right.
It's a beautiful part of the country.
That's right. It's been a little bit of a secret, maybe still to many. It was to me, but it's a great place. I love it. We'd love to have you up. Come up. We'll do some work. We'll also show you around. It'd be
Amen
awesome.
to that. Thank you for coming in today.
You're welcome.
Till next time.
All right.
February maybe, right?
Let's do
We
it.
could Cheers.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Please subscribe, like, share, leave a comment or review. Be sure to check us out on social media at Optimized Advisor Podcast. Till next time.